I spent almost one full consecutive year of my life living pretty much in silence or quietness. Here are 3 guiding insights that have fueled my life ever since. I was just 23 and I had relocated with my partner to live in Singapore. It was to pursue a lifelong dream and a career opportunity that we both had. We were so excited to arrive, and the first 2 weeks went pretty well. But on the 3rd week, I got struck down with a really rare illness. And I was so ill that I was pretty much unable to get out of bed much longer than 5-minute stretches at a time. Heartbreakingly, my partner, actually at the time, we broke up. And there I was, living in Singapore all on my own. At that time, mobile phones weren't a thing. The internet wasn't a big deal at that point yet. People weren't really even sending emails, and I didn't know anybody. I was getting some medical treatment that I thought was pretty important, and I decided to stay living in Singapore. Because I was so ill, it meant that I didn't have the opportunity to be able to go and meet people. So the only time I really talked to anybody was on the occasions that I would be visiting my medical practitioners and on the occasions that I would be buying some food to sustain myself. Pretty much for the rest of the time, I was pretty much in isolation in my own. Now, as you can imagine, it was an exceptionally difficult period of time in my life to spend so much time pretty much in silence. Now, one of the fascinating things that actually occurred during this is it wasn't so quiet. The chatter inside of my head was intense. I was going through a breakup. I was going through a debilitating sickness or disease. We didn't know what it actually was at the time. It took a very long time to get a diagnosis. And I was scared and I was lonely and I didn't know what was going on and I didn't have anyone to talk to about it. And so it was a very intense time. So the chatter, the words, the fears, the doubts, the emotions, they're all inside of me were really hard to deal with. At first, it was far from quiet. The internal narrator, the internal questions, chewing it all over, the obsessive thinking about it, trying to work through the problems. So at first, it was far from quiet. But over time, as I started to work through with the illness, my 5 minutes of being out of bed started to extend. And over time, I started to very incrementally be able to start to harness and quieten my mind. It took enormous practice. It took enormous focus. But over time, I ended up getting to a place where my mind was quiet. And so I had this exceptionally rare life experience, which at the time felt like a complete waste of a year of my life. At the time, I experienced this year as a complete write-off from my dreams and from my goals and all the things that I had gone there to do. Now, with all of this quietness, with all of this silence, I had no choice but to kind of be with it, allow myself to see what emerged. And what's truly fascinating is that this year of my life was one of the most profound years for being able to know who I was, for being able to discover aspects of myself that have contributed to the body of work that I have given the rest of my life to. So many different models, possibilities, all stem back to that period of quietness, to that period of silence. I actually look back on that time now and am grateful for the extraordinary impact that quietness and silence has had on realizing the power that quietness and silence can have in your life, and the impact that can have on your creativity, on your resilience, on your ability to do so much more in the world. I'm grateful that I had the insight and the learning to be able to integrate quietness and silence into my daily life and to actually integrate it into my weekly and my monthly life, to be able to actually design my weeks and the way that I structure my life to ensure that I'm regularly getting periods of quietness and silence, both on a daily basis, but larger, deeper, longer chunks regularly throughout the months and also the years. I love a study that came out in 2017. It was published in the Harvard Business Review by Talbot, Zorn and Martz. And it came by the title of something similar to "Busy People Need More Quiet Time." And I loved seeing this come to life. They published a whole lot of research that they had done, but also galvanised from many different studies. And the basic findings of the research are that those who have moments of quietness, they're able to measure biologically in the body that it was restorative to the nervous system. That moments of quietness allow someone to, over time, become more adaptable and more resilient. Moments of time led people to be able to have greater, more novel, different perspectives. People have also commented from the research that they are more productive and actually able to do more when they have periods of quietness. One study that was done was studying 43,000 people at work and studying them in these open plan office spaces. And the findings pretty much came out that overall, the constant interruptions and noise that happens in an open plan office space, people were less productive or operating less effectively than if they could have moments of quietness. So what is a moment of quietness? What are we talking about here? So a moment of quietness might be, they said in their piece, 5 minutes prior to a meeting, which could be in a meeting room with the door closed quietly. It could be walking outside and sitting on a park bench. It could be sitting under a tree. It could be putting noise cancelling headphones or going into a telephone booth and just having some moments where there are no sounds outside of you, but really importantly, quietening your internal mind. Very often people think they're having moments of silence, but the chatter, as you heard when I was so young and was going through that life event, sometimes it can be even louder on the inside. So this is, of course, why the birth of mindfulness is really so big in the world at this time, is mindfulness allows us to quieten the inner world, but also our outer worlds, and allows us to have those moments of quietness. It allows the nervous system to be restored. It allows us over time to become more adaptable, more resilient. It allows us to be able to be more. And ultimately, it allows us to be able to, therefore, do more. One of the key insights was, for me, learning in that quietness, allowing who I was to be able to emerge, who I really was, and to allow me to really have a great sense of mission in my life with a great intention to really want to contribute and to help an enormous amount of people. The second insight was that quietness is not just an external job, it's actually an internal job. And therefore, a lot of my work has been helping people to have that quietness, not only externally, but internally, and making sure that I have it in my life. The third insight was that if I want to grow and evolve and become more of what I'm potentially here to do, that I need to regularly have those rituals and moments in my life where I do have quietness, where generatively my nervous system can restore, where generatively new ideas that couldn't possibly come to the fore could surface themselves and I could hear them. So what are going to be your rituals? How much quietness do you have in your life? If you're a busy parent who's working, how can you and your partner or people in your life help you to have that quietness and silence? During your working day, how can you structure your meetings or your lunch break or even 5 minutes to be able to have that silence? What kind of rituals, whether it be meditation, whether it be heart math, whether it be yoga, whatever those moments are for quietness and silence, how are you going to integrate them into your life? As always, I love to hear your ideas. Others can learn from you. Share them in the comments below. And importantly, have an amazing, awesome day.